Since childhood, every Nepali is taught a comforting promise. The nation possesses the second largest water reserves in the world. The political narrative insists that one day, these roaring rivers will inevitably turn into a flood of hydrodollars. But look at the actual electricity meter. On average, a Nepali citizen consumes barely 350 units of electricity a year. That places the country's power usage at the absolute bottom of the global barrel, right alongside struggling nations like Afghanistan. The Himalayan water cycle is defined by violent seasonal extremes. 8 months of arid drought are followed by a 4-month monsoon that transforms these rivers into the destructive floods seen here, making a steady, year-round water supply incredibly difficult to capture. To manage these extremes, the state has chased massive hydropower projects. Yet, instead of creating wealth, these billion-dollar concrete monoliths are currently dragging the national economy into crippling debt. The entire economic strategy is broken. The country is selling the wrong product at the wrong price to a customer that doesn't actually need it. To understand why the promise of hydrodollars remains a mirage, we have to look past the political speeches and audit the raw, deeply compromised mechanics of how these megaprojects actually get built. Building a modern dam requires moving mountains. You can see the massive earthworks and heavy machinery required in these deep valley construction sites. It is a highly complex, capital-intensive undertaking. This chart compares construction costs per kilowatt across different nations. Look at a developing nation like Ethiopia. They are building the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam for under $1,000 per kilowatt. In Nepal, those costs are artificially inflated, hitting triple the global average. Take the Upper Tamakoshi project. Its original estimate was 35 billion rupees, but by completion, the budget had ballooned to over 90 billion rupees. This inflation is built into the business model. It relies on a specific financial mechanism called the variation order. Contractors use any excuse, a local strike, a technical glitch, to delay construction and demand massive budget increases. The state bleeds revenue, while the construction firms pocket the difference. Economists in Nepal call this coup-bikas, or maldevelopment. The system is hijacked by a specific political economy, where the actual generation of power is secondary. The sheer act of constructing the dam and skimming profits off the bloated budget is the true political goal. Because these baseline construction costs are corrupted from day one, the math is inescapable. Any electricity generated by these wildly overpriced turbines is mathematically guaranteed to be sold at a massive loss. This flawed math is compounded by a total misunderstanding of what a dam actually produces. Look at the proposed Budi Gandaki project, which is consistently marketed strictly as a hydropower plant. Budi Gandaki is actually a multi-purpose project. As the schematic shows, the true value of the dam sits behind the concrete wall. It holds a massive volume of monsoon water in the reservoir, saved for the 8 months of dry season. If Nepal does not put a price tag on that stored water, it simply flows south into India by default. That regulated flow gives neighboring farmers the free water needed to cultivate 2.5 million hectares of high-yield crops through the dry season. Other nations treat this as a highly lucrative asset. This is the Lesotho Highlands Dam. Lesotho successfully treats its stored water as an export commodity, selling it to South Africa for millions a year. Instead of valuing water, Nepal's national master plan focuses entirely on exporting cheap electricity, but they are trying to sell into India's massive 500,000 megawatt grid. That grid is already saturated and highly complex. Nepal's tiny output is a drop in the ocean, giving India total leverage to dictate prices. This forces Nepal into the trap of spot market pricing. During the monsoon peak, they export surplus power for pennies, but a few months later, during the winter drought, they buy power back at a massive premium. By hyper-focusing only on exporting cheap electricity, the nation is handing over hundreds of millions of dollars of regulated agricultural water, absolutely free of charge. The path out of this debt trap requires abandoning the 20th century obsession with massive concrete dams and pivoting toward 21st century digital infrastructure. Under current plans, the government wants to export 15,000 megawatts of power. The alternative is keeping that power entirely inside Nepal's borders to fuel high-density, tax-free data centers. While selling raw electricity into a saturated market offers razor-thin margins, selling high-value computation is a different economy entirely. By using that power locally to process global data, leveraging Nepal's high-altitude cooling and low industrial power costs, the same 15,000 megawatts could generate an estimated $6 billion in annual revenue. Traditional storage projects like Budi Gandaki take decades and billions in overruns to reach completion, often becoming obsolete before they're finished. A faster, more efficient alternative lies in pumped storage hydro, which can be integrated into existing river systems far more quickly. This schematic shows how a pumped storage system operates. During the day, cheap solar power drives a pump that moves water from a river up into an elevated reservoir. You are effectively turning the country's steep geography into a giant rechargeable battery. When the sun goes down or the winter drought hits, that water flows back down through the turbines to generate steady, reliable electricity. It completely eliminates the need to buy expensive power from the spot market. True national wealth will only arrive when Nepal stops treating its rivers as cheap batteries for its neighbors and starts treating its water as the high-value fuel for its own industrial revolution.